That benchmark you were mentioning them hitting was Governor Northam saying today in the last reporting period they had over 10,000 tests returned. The majority of those, the vast majority of those being the more reliable diagnostic tests or PCR tests, and just about over 400 being those less reliable serological or antibody tests. And that 10,000 tests per day mark is one officials have said they wanted to hit for this phase one of reopening. And afterwards, another official in charge of increasing testing told us that they got over 10,000 with the diagnostic tests alone, but there is a delay in reporting those tests as some new labs are still onboarding with the health department's reporting website. Another benchmark that they have been talking about wanting to hit is increasing the state's contact tracing operations. And today, Northam says they have committed $58 million of the federal funding to hiring more contact tracers and ramping up those efforts around the state. And another thing that we also heard from the governor about was that as we are almost at the week one mark for phase one of reopening for the majority of the state, Northam was asked about potentially moving into phase two, when that decision may come, and if maybe they've been seeing metrics that would require them to reimpose restrictions. And Northam says for the latter point, they have not seen any data requiring them to impose tougher restrictions and have yet to pick a date as to when they'll decide when to move into phase two, but says it will be driven by the same metrics that allowed them to go into phase one.
Obviously, we're watching every day the trends, and now we're 5 days into phase one. So we'll continue to watch in the next few days over the weekend, and then obviously with a few days notice, we'll let people know whether we're going to go into phase two.
Now, officials also updated their efforts to use the Virginia National Guard to test 100 long-term care facilities in the Commonwealth. It was a goal they announced 2 weeks ago, and they say as of today, 43 of those facilities are somewhere along the pipeline up to the point of actually having the testing done and the results back, to trying to schedule a date for the National Guard to come in for testing. And the Defense Secretary said today that of the over 120 Guardsmen that have been doing those tests, 4 of them have contracted COVID-19 themselves and are being quarantined. And Northam today also announced the creation of a new work group that he says will be tasked with finding ways to reduce costs and improve access to health care for Virginians, regardless of their insurance.